Welcome to Embrace the Dark and the Light, a podcast about healing, identity, purpose, and being human. I'm your host, Kelly Street, a therapist, writer, and lifelong seeker. I believe that healing isn't linear. Darkness isn't something to fear, and the journey inward is the most important one we'll ever take. Each episode, I explore the full spectrum of what it means to live a conscious, intentional life, from the messy and tender to the sacred and expansive, through a mix of solo episodes and honest conversations with fellow creators, healers, and thinkers. We'll walk together through the shadow and the light, trusting that both have wisdom to offer. You're not alone in this. Welcome to Embrace the Dark and the Light. Today's episode is all about Embrace the Dark, the book that I wrote. And I will say I've been trying to figure out how to talk about this book for weeks. Not because I don't have things to say, and I should say not even weeks, months. I've been trying to figure out how to talk about the book on the podcast for months. Not because I don't have things to say about it, but because I honestly have too many things to say, and none of them felt like quite the right entry point until today. So before we go anywhere, before we get into this conversation, let's just arrive. So wherever you are right now, in your car, on a walk, folding laundry, just let yourself be exactly there. No preparation required. You don't have to be in the right headspace for this. That's kind of the whole point, actually, is just to be. Take one breath in through your nose, long and slow, and let it out through your mouth. And again, in and out. And now, if it feels okay to do this, place one hand on your chest, right over your heart. Not because we're going to do anything with it, just so there's a point of contact. Something that says to your body, I'm here, I'm with myself. Take a breath into that hand. I want you to notice. Is there anything you've been carrying today that feels heavy? No need to fix it or even examine it. Just to acknowledge that that heaviness is there. Give it a nod. Yeah, I see you. This episode is about shadow work. It's about the parts of ourselves we've been taught to move away from, to manage, to contain. And what I've learned is that the turning toward is the work, not the arriving, not the resolution, just the willingness to face the direction of the thing. So that's all I'm asking of you today. Just face in the direction of your own shadow with me. So take one more breath in and let it go. Okay, let's do this. Let's get into talking about the book. So, 4 years ago, I wrote the first draft of what would become Embrace the Dark, Heal and Find Balance in Life's Deepest Shadows. The thing is I always knew that I had a book in me. I knew from elementary school that what I wanted to do eventually was to write a book. Not just for the sake of writing it or of having my name in print or ego. Certainly there's some of that. I will be perfectly honest. There is some of getting my stories out there that is about me. Who would I be about embracing the shadow if I didn't acknowledge that there is some of that is about me? But more importantly, I always knew that I had stories to tell that would connect myself to others, because I knew that when I would read books, that what I would do is I would connect to other people. I would connect to myself. I would feel seen. I would feel heard. I would feel understood. And so I knew that if other people could do that and could create that thing, that that's something that I could do too, to help connect myself with other people. So that is the big overarching story behind Embrace the Dark. But how did it come to be? So I read a few years ago, I read Thomas More's book, Dark Nights of the Soul. I've talked about this book multiple times, how meaningful this book is to me. And I will just reiterate that when I read that book and I learned this perspective that what we call depression, what we call anxiety, what we call sadness, that could be thought of as something other that's something that didn't need a diagnosis, could be thought of as something that didn't even need to be fixing, was maybe just a part of who I was. And that if I could embrace that part of myself, if I could learn to love and accept and honor that darkness, that sadness, that shadow in me, that maybe that was the path to healing. And so reading Thomas More's book really allowed that to open up in me. And so from reading the book, I then started doing a lot of processing. And so I read that book. I read a bunch of books by Sue Monk Kidd and specifically Dance of the Dissident Daughter, which I also talk a lot about in the book and how meaningful that was for me in coming to terms with some spiritual healing that I needed to do. Basically, I read those books. I read about how to write a memoir and what made a successful writing journey and writing book. I read books on writing. I studied, I learned everything that I could learn about what it took to write a book and how to get from point A to point B so that I could feel prepared. And then came the actual writing. And what I did was I had 3 weeks of time between the last semester of grad school and starting my internship to practice therapy. And during that 3 or 3.5 weeks, I thought, I'm going to sit down at my computer and dedicate as much time as I possibly can to writing. And so I did. So I sat down, I wrote 80, 90,000 words, I think, in that 3.5 weeks. I just plunked away at my computer for like 10 hours a day, almost every single day, and was waking up in the middle of the night having thoughts about, put this in the book, write this down. And that became the very first draft of the book. Writing my stories, writing the things that had happened to me and the tools that helped me learn and heal and grow was really scary. It was really vulnerable. It wasn't just this easy, quick process like I make it sound like it was in 3.5 weeks. It was painful. I had days where I cried and I would be sobbing and I would be writing and I would take a break and I would come back and I would go, okay, I can do this. I can keep going. Because I was really afraid of what it meant to put those words, those stories in black and white. What it meant to not only put them down on paper, but what it meant that someday maybe somebody else would read that and know that vulnerable or that scary thing about me. But that's the key to shadow work, isn't it? It's to do the thing anyway. It's to face the difficult, the scary, the uncertainty, and to just move into that fear. It's what I wrote the book for, and it's what the book is all about. What better way to have you learn a little bit more about the book than to just include a clip here? So this is a clip from chapter 6 in the book, which is called Becoming. Becoming is all about personal growth and learning to be more myself. And through learning to be more myself, hopefully you can learn more to be yourself. One of the things about the book is I really wanted to balance stories of myself, stories about clients, and the tools that I use to learn and grow and heal myself. And so hopefully this clip of the book gives you a little bit more insight on what the book is like. It's a little bit more of my story in this section, but I think it gives you some good insight into what the book is like. So I hope you enjoy. Take the next 7 minutes to listen to the clip from chapter 6, Becoming, which is all about personal growth. Rather than setting the stage and telling you what the selection will be all about, I am just going to read it. So here we go. By 4th grade, I knew what depression felt like. It was undiagnosed, but I felt it deep in my little body and brain. It was a sadness that blanketed everything, making it hard to sleep, eat, or move. I didn't know how to release it, so it came out as anger. I talked endlessly, then shouted when I wasn't heard, trying to make the invisible pain visible. At 10, I didn't know what to do with the flood of feelings inside me. So I talked, constantly. My parents turned my perpetual noise into a family joke. Help, I'm talking and I can't shut up. They meant it playfully, a way to manage the chaos of parenting, but it left its mark. Even now, if someone drifts off while I'm speaking, it stings. It touches that old wound. Am I being heard? Do I matter? Talking helped drown out the cruel voices in my head that said I was too much, not enough, and unlovable. Reading helped me disappear into the pages, but talking helped me prove I existed. If someone noticed me, maybe I was real. Maybe I was worth something. And sometimes someone did notice. Most of us have that one teacher, that one person who sees more in us than we can see in ourselves. For me, it was those rare moments of being truly seen that helped me hold on. That kind of witnessing can change everything. Then came my fifth grade teacher, a guiding force of good in my elementary school experience. Her big curly hair matched her energy. She moved through the school like a spark, trying to reach us before we became jaded middle schoolers. And for me, she did. She saw my light and handed me a way to express it: writing. Our class was working on poetry, and she told us that some of our poems could be submitted to a national fifth grade anthology. At the time, it felt huge. The idea that my name could be in a real book, I was mesmerized. So I wrote. I listened. I revised. I read more, and I kept writing. Then one day, she pulled me aside and said the words that cracked something open in me. "Kelly, you are a writer." Everything went still. It felt impossible and yet true. If she believed it, maybe I could too. The girl who had been sent to the principal's office for yelling was now the girl with a voice on the page. I had found a way to speak that people could finally hear. Emboldened by my teacher's encouragement, I told my parents I wanted to be a writer. They suggested something more practical. In their world, writing was for people who came from different stock. I came from good, steady people, from salt of the earth types who reach not for the stars, but for the Bible. You could forge your own path, sure, but only if it looked like something they recognized: a steady job, a family, and a paycheck. Something with a clear map. Writing didn't have a map. It felt risky, uncertain, and impractical. My parents warned me that a career in the arts would lead to a hard road, that I might not have what it takes to stand out in the sea of other hopefuls. Besides, why would I even want to? Wanting to stand out sounded dangerous and prideful. The unspoken question was, what made me think I had anything worth saying at all? It was an attempt to keep me safe, to keep me grounded. They knew that life could be cruel and difficult, and wanted to protect me from a life made harder by my own choices. Unfortunately, the message I received was that I was not enough, that I didn't have what it takes. A few years ago, while researching my family tree, I came across a newspaper article about my great-grandma Arlene. She had become a well-known seamstress in her small community, drawing people from neighboring towns who trusted her to alter clothing or create garments from scratch. In her lifetime, she made over 70 wedding dresses. The article was a sweet reminder of the woman who also made the best apple pie in the world, but it was a clear window into the legacy I carry. In that short interview, my great-grandmother says not once or twice, but 3 times that she doesn't want anyone to think she's special. She refused to have her photo taken, afraid it might give people the wrong impression, that she thought too highly of herself. The reporter had to convince her to allow the article to run at all. Even then, she insisted that it include a disclaimer. She was just a hard worker, not gifted, not talented, just someone who did what people asked. I've read that article over and over, and with each reading, I've felt a deeper understanding settle in me. It held the key to what I was taught without ever being directly told. The lineage I come from is built on humility and hard work. Those are beautiful gifts that have grounded me and kept me close to the earth, close to others. But like all ancestral gifts, they also compared with burdens and shadows. In my family, the shadow side of humility is insecurity. The shadow side of hard work is the belief that you must earn your right to speak, create, and be seen. Even then, you should not speak too loudly or be too proud. There is a deep ancestral fear of standing out, of becoming too much, of taking up space. It's a story passed down like a quilt. Don't shine too brightly. Don't believe you're exceptional. Be good. Be useful. Be quiet. That article was an awakening to the burden standing between me and who I am meant to become. How could I have possibly escaped the fear of becoming something more without first seeing the roots of that fear, without naming it, honoring it, and beginning to weave new threads into the story? Before I ever found that article, I had already absorbed the message that writing, creating, and art were not part of a realistic path. By sixth grade, with a far less inspiring teacher and a family that prized practicality over possibility, I kept reading and writing, but only for myself. My journal became the only place my words felt safe. When it became clear that most adults around me didn't see what I saw in myself, I folded my dream of being a writer into my back pocket and escaped into the stories of others. Reading became my sanctuary, and writing receded into the background. I learned to be what I thought I needed to be: a good girl, a future wife, someone agreeable and easy to love. Still, I was drawn to stories of girls who endured something and found themselves on the other side. Historical fiction written as diaries, based on real girls my age. They were my first glimpse of memoir, even if fictionalized. I hadn't known people could write about themselves, that their own longings could be enough. I didn't yet believe mine were, but I knew this: one day, I would write them anyway. I gotta say, that final line of that section, I would write them anyway. When I read that back, when I hear that back, I get tears in my eyes every single time because I am just so proud of the little girl who wanted to write and who knew she had stories in her. And I'm so proud of myself, I'll be honest, that I have done the hard thing. I accomplished a dream. And yet it doesn't necessarily feel like this magical thing that fixed everything, or that, guys, I'm healed now. I did all this work and I finished this. I got this done. There is this thing about accomplishing a dream where when that thing is finished, when the thing is actual, like when it's reality, there's almost a little bit of like a dip that people don't really talk about, where it's like, "Oh, that's done now. I did it." And so what does it mean to have done the thing? It means, yeah, I did it. I wrote the book. But what? There's sort of a waiting period to let my soul kind of rest and recuperate and recover from having done this really big vulnerable thing. And that's the place that I'm in now, is coming out of writing the book, of editing for years, of going through and working with the publisher, and now it coming out. I'm in this liminal space where I'm like, all right, the book's here. It's out in the world. What do I do now? Do I keep talking about it forever? Are people going to like it? And I'm kind of waiting for that feedback loop to come in. I'm sort of waiting for the what is next. People are starting to ask about what is the next book. And I almost feel like this, like I'm kind of in postpartum with the book, where I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, can you give me a chance to breathe, guys? Can you just like let me settle in and soak in into this moment of what Embrace the Dark was and is now? So that's where I'm at with it now in this moment. So you write a book, you put it in the world, you get it out of yourself and onto the page, and then what? What do I hope that people walk away with? What do I hope that people learn or understand when they read the book? And I get asked this all the time. Like every podcast that I'm on, people are like, what do you want people to come away from the book with? And I say, this thing, this one thing. If someone reads this book and only takes one thing away from it, I want it to be that you are whole, that you are worthy, and that you are lovable just as you are with every part of yourself that you already are. Who you've been, who you are now, who you're going to be, all of that. You are whole, you are worthy, you are lovable. I can't say that enough. And I just hope that one person out there feels a little bit less alone by reading the book, and then you pass it on to someone else to hopefully have somebody else feel a little bit less alone in their darkness and in their shadow. That's what I hope for this book. So, what can you do now? What do I hope that you take from this conversation? I hope that you get the book. I hope that you read it, that you buy it, that you read it. You can get the book anywhere you buy books. You can listen to it on Audible if you want to listen to more of my voice. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can ask your local library to carry it. I would love that as a library nerd myself, and get most of the books I read from the library or from our local small independent bookstore. Go to those places and ask for it, because you never know who's going to walk in and see it on the shelf, or who's going to search for it and be curious about it and read it if you enjoy the book as much as I hope you do. And then after you read the book or listen to it, please leave a review somewhere. Amazon would be a great place to leave it so that people can find it, or Goodreads. Reach out to me and let me know what you thought of the book, or share it with somebody else. Because if this book finds the right person at the right time, that means everything to me. Just like Dark Nights of the Soul found me at the right time. Just like Dance of the Dissonant Daughter found me at the right time. Just like Angela's Ashes and reading that as a memoir found me at just the right time when I was a young kid and I could see into the heart and soul of somebody else in their story and in their journey. So if you are the right person who found this book at the right time, let me know. I would love to know what you thought of the book and how it helped you, or yeah. So thank you as always for listening to my stories, for listening to the things that I have to share. And as always, embrace both the light and the dark. Thank you for being here and for walking this path with me. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you'd take a moment to rate, review, or share it with someone who might need it too. To keep the conversation going, come say hi on Instagram at Embrace the Dark and the Light. And if you're looking for more support on your healing journey, you can find free resources, meditations, and so much more at embracethedarkandthelight.com. Until next time, may you honor the dark, trust the light, and keep coming home to yourself.